Bible quizzing is difficult. It's hard for many reasons, but there's one big one that needs mentioning. Today, I'm talking about the most daunting, relentless, inescapable truth that is consistency. The virtue of opening your book day after day after day and continuing to put in effort even when you don't want to. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my backyard. You might be wondering why I've taken you here, and it's because I have something to show you. Behind me is what I like to call my pace space. I call it that because in the later half of last quizzing season, almost every day, I would grab my water bottle, scripture portion, and phone, and I would go outside and spend anywhere from 1 to 3 hours walking back and forth on this 10-yard patch of dirt, reading and repeating to myself hundreds of verses of scripture. Yes, it was a lot of work, but I wanted to be there. It was a constant I could rely on when nothing seemed to be predictable. I enjoyed all that time in the presence of God, and it's paying off in my spiritual walk and my quizzing. Now let's talk about how you can gain consistency and get better at quizzing, because I can guarantee you that if you master the virtue of consistency, you will be one of the top quizzers in the country. So step 1 is to have a plan. There's a famous quote that says, "A goal without a plan is just a wish." As a person who struggles with procrastination, I can tell you that if I don't know where or how I'm going to start a project, there's little chance that I end up doing it that day. So take my advice and make a plan. You need to decide 3 things for it to be a full plan. The first one is where you will study. For this one, it can be anywhere you won't be bothered, like your bedroom, your backyard, or even the library. It's often the best call to plan for a place where you know you can study every single day, because at least for me, a change in environment can interrupt focus. Second, you need to decide when. This can be a time like 1 p.m. or it can be as general as after lunch. Scheduling after something you do every day can help your brain get familiar with the routine and associate it with studying. Now third, plan what you intend to do at a more specific degree. An example would be read Luke chapter 2 5 times and memorize the memory verses. And with that, you've officially created your plan. Step number 2, accountability. Having accountability is very, very important to consistency, because now the motivating factor is no longer just failing yourself. Now you need to be able to not fail your accountability partner. It binds you by a sense of loyalty. The hardest part about this is picking a good accountability partner. It should be someone you can trust and that you see in person, because it's easier to ignore a text. Also, it should be a person that won't forget about it, because that would not be ideal. Also, I would avoid being an accountability partner to another quizzer. What could happen, and this has happened to me before, is that if you both stop studying, each one doesn't exactly feel qualified to check in on the other to make sure they're studying if they weren't studying themselves. It's not a good situation, so it's just best to pick a coach or a family member that you can count on. Finally, make sure that you tell them your plan and what your goal is, so that they can make sure you're following the specific plan instead of just barely studying. Step 3, routine. As I said before, every day I would go to the same spot, taking the same items, and I did all this at about the same time each day. Our brains love routines, and creating one is just the way to spark consistency. There are several things you can integrate into your routine, and one of my favorites is that every day right before studying, I would play the same song. You can add different things to routine, like putting on a specific hoodie, a specific hat, or maybe you could even chew a specific flavor of gum. There are plenty of things to do to create a familiar routine for your brain. Now, some brains react better to routines and some not as well, so you'll just have to test it out and see. A bonus tip is to realize that breaks are allowed. It's healthy to take breaks after big quizzes or on holidays. Just remember to tell your accountability partner so that he or she can make sure you come back. I know how hard it is to come back after a week-long vacation or a quiz that didn't go well. But just realize that quizzing is a privilege, and we're so blessed to be able to freely read God's scripture and especially quiz over it. If I missed something, tell me in the comments. And if you liked the video, subscribe, because more is on the way. Thanks for joining me, and may the peace of Christ be with you.